again, and welcome back to part 2 of how to build a 100-watt LED. Sorry about the light, but it's the early hours of the morning. Like with all my projects, I have to do it only in my spare time, which often is the early hours of the morning. So let's get on with the electronic side of things. We'll start with the dimmer switch. Okay, these voltage regulators are pretty good. It might get a bit hot, so I'm thinking I'm going to put a little fan on it, but they got a little potentiometer here, and it's all good, but like you can't really use that once it's inside it. What I want to do is make it so that we've got a dimmer switch. So the first thing I'm going to have to do is take this off. We need to keep this though, so don't damage it. The easiest way to take it off would be to get a blob of solder, put it on all 3 contacts so that it's all bridged across all 3, and then pull the whole lot out with the soldering iron on it. I'll show you how to do that now. There you go, there's a nice ugly blob of solder on that. Let me just zoom in for you. Doesn't have to look pretty just yet. And now what I need to do is hold it in one hand on the actual potentiometer and heat up the rest. There we go. Now as you can see, it's all covered in nasty bits of solder, so we're just going to get rid of it all. There we go. So that's all cleaned up now, ready for the next stage. I am going to actually get rid of these as well, and I'm going to solder directly to the board, but I'll do that in a minute. It's not needing to be done just yet. Okay, in the next part of the project, I use a 10k resistor to try and sort out the dimmer switch. 10k doesn't work. I then go on to use a 1k resistor and a 10k, and that doesn't work either. So I actually go online and I get myself an 11k, and that works perfectly in exactly the same setup I show you. So do what I do, but just do it with an 11k. So whenever I mention 10k, it's 11k, alright? I will put that on the screen as well, but I just wanted to give a bit of a heads up on that before anyone went out and bought some 10k thinking that might work. I'm going to start off this part with 10k resistors. Now I'm not sure if they're going to have a high enough resistance. I think I'm going to need around 11k, but 10 potentially could do it. First thing I'm going to do is put a blob of solder on the 10k resistor. I'm just hoping I can get away with using the 10k, not needing 11. Will do. Now the first 10k resistor goes in the middle. I do have a set of handy helpers, but I don't know what I've done with them. So I'm using crocodile clips instead. Didn't work, did it? The way I'm going to have to connect these two together is I've done a tiny loop in the end of that. And I'm just going to shift it over the top, like that, and then solder to it. There we go. First one soldered. Okay, the next thing I've got to solder is this wire. Now it doesn't have to be a black wire, it's the only one I could find. Once I've finished this and I've tested it all, I will be covering it in hot glue. Now one thing, although it looks like it in the camera, these two are not touching. Let me see if I can change the light to show you. There you go. I need to connect another resistor to the middle foot of this potentiometer. I'll do the same thing. What you do, let's take the beautiful little top off. We put your thumb so you can hold the resistor, and then you can just twist it round. I've always found this way to be better, as long as you don't let go halfway through, because you can get it away exactly where you want it, like that, and it's stuck there, and then it means I can just cut bits off that I don't want. So let's solder that on. There we go. Okay, so that's where we are so far. Now what you want to do is connect these two resistors together, like that. Now what we want to do now is connect a wire to this. Hold and twist. Let's solder that on. We're nearly done, really. Now, somewhere along here, I'm going to make a break. Well, actually, right, let's put this under here for a minute. Oh, I haven't soldered them on yet. Okay, so now we need to solder the resistors together. I wouldn't normally be soldering on paper, but I thought it would be the easiest way to show you what's going on. Trim the excess. Now, if we cut this down to about here, okay, so now the left leg of the baby potentiometer is going straight to the left leg of the wire from the left leg of the bigger potentiometer. Solder that. And now, from where the resistors joined, add another wire. I'm just using red purely so that you can see what I'm doing. Like always, trim the excess, being careful not to burn yourself. And that's your circuit done. Now it's a case of connecting your wires back up to the voltage regulator. So that's our next job. So the one that comes from the potentiometers, so the one I've done as black, goes in this side. Okay, so there's the first one through. Let's solder that in place. Cut off the excess. Now the reason I always cut the excess off immediately is, if you don't and you forget, sometimes that wire could be short in a circuit and all this work could have been for nothing. There we go. Now it's time to test it after we've taken off the excess. This is genuinely my first test, so if it goes pop or something happens, you're first to see it. Okay, so it is working, but it's not the voltages I want, so I'll show you how to deal with that now. To sort this out properly, what you need to do is make sure that your new potentiometer is as far clockwise as possible, so this will show the highest voltage. If I turn it the other way, it will always go down. So the highest possible. Now, on your little trimmer potentiometer, what you want to do is you want to keep turning it until the voltage is exactly 30 volts. Okay, so I went online and I bought some more resistors. Unfortunately I got 1/4 watt ones, not the ones I wanted, but hopefully they'll work. What I'm going to do, I'm not in any mood to desolder anything, I am snipping stuff off and we're trying again. So these are the 11K ones that I was supposed to have got originally. So we'll see. Hopefully, oh, and if you can hear Christmas music, it's coming up that season and they're downstairs listening to Christmas songs, getting into the proper Christmas spirit. I can't argue with that. Just make sure that's correct. Yep, okay, let's get all these miscellaneous wires out of the way. Okay, let's test this, see if we can get it to the right voltage, shall we? .7. Make sure this is pulled all the way to the 28. Remember, you need that all the way to the clockwise position. Looks like we're going to be able to do it. Oh, about blinking time. Right, let's have a look. And then... oh, amazing. Okay, there we go. So we've made it so we can have it can now go from 30 volts down to exactly 25 volts. I'm going to solder all that up. I'm going to glue gun it all in place to make it look make it a lot more safer. You know, on all the contacts I'm going to glue it just so that any wobbling won't get rid of it. And then I'll be back. Okay, so there's all of the bits glued up and secured. I've actually glued the trimmer onto the back of the potentiometer just to keep it safe and, you know, somewhere where I still know where it is. With the heatsink and LED now, if you're going to test it like this, just bear in mind that the heatsink is metal. So if your croc clips or whatever you're using to test it are touching the heatsink, then you will short the circuit and it won't work. So that could be a reason you've had trouble if if you've tested it and nothing's happened. Okay, this will be with the 11k resistors, and we'll see if this is working now. Working. Wonderful. Okay, so all we needed was the 11k resistor.